Hey guys, thanks so much for dropping by to the David Pedala podcast. On today's episode, I interview my friend Steve Wessing from Wessing Productions. Steve is a very talented engineer, and he's got a really cool story about how he went to school for recording, got an internship, and worked all the way up to Interscope Records. It was a really fun episode to record. I hope you guys really enjoy it. Here's my conversation with Steve Wessing. So tell me about your experience at Interscope Records and how that brought you from where you were to where you are now.
So I started working for Interscope Records in 2014 when I was 21, after working at another studio that's also in Santa Monica called 4th Street Recording.
Okay.
And through there, I met people that worked at Interscope, and I started doing stuff for them. And then eventually they brought me into the team at Interscope, and that's really, where I learned all my skills and gained my knowledge. I watched dozens of different, top-of-the-line engineers work on their stuff out there, and I learned from some pretty good ones, too. So, I just took all that knowledge, and once I kind of grew tired of the LA lifestyle, and homesickness got to be too much after, 8 years being away from family. So, decided I wanted to come back, and got back, started looking at all the studios around here, seeing if I could find work at a studio. As you know, it's all one-man shops.
Yeah.
There's no studio that even has multiple engineers. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna start buying gear, and I have been, and just been growing the business probably same way you have.
Pretty much, yeah. So let's go to 4th Street Recordings.
Okay,
that's what it's called, right?
Yep, 4th Street Recording.
So first of all, what got you into recording, and then how did you get there?
So I got into recording because I started playing guitar when I was about 10 years old, I think.
Okay.
And it pretty quickly became a thing I became passionate about and what I kind of enjoyed most in life. So, I grew up listening to a bunch of rock bands like Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin. I was obsessed with Eddie Van Halen. Obsessed with Eddie Van Halen. Yeah. You don't even want to know. It was bad.
Do you play the shreddy Van Halen solos?
I used to try back in the day, but nowadays I'm just nah, man.
Just chords?
It's too much work to keep those skills up, I just don't have time for it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It's so hard when you're starting a business to find time to keep your chops.
Yeah.
So
totally,
much time.
Totally.
Yeah. So were you in bands? When you
I
were
was.
younger? Okay.
I was in a band called Lockbox.
Okay.
We played a lot in the area. We opened for Vic Ferrari at Oktoberfest one year.
Really?
Bunch of different Battle of the Bands. And when I was 14, I got a digital recorder because I had started, kind of coming up with my own riffs, and I wanted to record them and hear them back because, you want to hear how you sound to other people, not just how you sound to yourself, obviously. Yeah. So started messing with that, and then the band got more serious. And our singer, Liz, her parents put up the money to record at Rock Garden at their old location, right by the bridge off College Ave there. That, which was also a one-room studio, actually.
Okay.
Actually, I think he had a small vocal booth in one of the corners, if I remember correctly. But other than that, it was all one room. And recorded with Mark when I was 16, and that's when I kind of first realized that, it could become, it was a career choice. And I eventually just went all in on it, and I went to school in Phoenix to the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. Okay. Which is a really, really incredible audio engineering school. I highly recommend it.
Did they make you learn an instrument there too?
No.
A classical instrument?
No, it was 100% strictly audio engineering. There was no math. There was no history. There was no anything. The classrooms were in recording studios, with SSLs and Neotex and APIs, and I think they even had a Neve when I was there, which was nice. But part of the program, which was really cool, was they gave you a little recording package, so a MacBook and a microphone and a Fast Track Pro. I don't know if you know what those are.
Oh yeah, the 2-channel M-audio interface.
Yeah. And so that was my first recording setup. Really, that was good. And so all of us had those, and we were working in the studio, and they made us record a tape too, which was really awesome. We learned how to record a tape and do the digital too, which was awesome.
Okay. So then from there you graduated, and did you go right to LA?
I did. So they have like an 8-month program.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah. Well, there's like, I think it's 12 cycles of 3 weeks. It's 8 months.
Okay.
I don't feel like doing the math.
Okay, that's fine.
And then you have to you pick a city that you want to go to, and you do have to have so many internship hours. I think it was like 300 or something like that. And most people get it done in like 1 to 3 months. And so they have internship coordinators that are really well connected in the industry, and they set you up with internships at a studio in the town you select. So I chose Los Angeles. And so basically you give them a list of the top 10 studios you want to work at. So you would do your own research to find places where you would want to work, and they would use their connections and just go through the list, and you would end up at one of them. So 4th Street Recording, not number 1 on my list. I think they're like number 6. Westlake in LA was pretty high on my list, and I had an interview set up there, and I was really stoked about it. But then I got a call to like go work that same day at 4th Street. So I went to work there, and I ended up just staying there and never going to Westlake, which is like a way bigger studio.
Okay. So did you like working at 4th Street?
Oh yeah, I loved it. They had to kick me out. Like I wouldn't go home. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I was working for free as an unpaid intern. I was like 19, 20, living in California. It was a really fun time.
Yeah, that had to be rough with no pay though.
Yeah, I don't even remember how I made it work, but somehow I did.
Yeah.
I got a little government assistance in the beginning, like a grant or whatever for living expenses for like the first couple months.
Gotcha.
And then after that, I slowly started finding little gigs here and there, like the smallest little crumbs that no one else wanted to do, like working with people who no one else wants to work with. Yeah. I would take that job for almost no money.
Yeah.
So, then you started to accumulate bigger and bigger things and just grow. And after a while, I was actually running the intern program there.
Wow.
So I was like the internship coordinator. I like helped hire the interns, and I trained them and like made the schedule, and I had to fire a couple of them, which I didn't enjoy. I thought I might enjoy doing that, but like it's actually not that fun to fire someone.
Yeah, it's just really sad.
Yeah, it is. And I got paid a very small amount of money to do that, and I was able to find affordable housing through people I knew that had apartments.
Okay.
So I was basically couch crashing for like a long time, like not signing leases or anything, and just kind of staying at different places.
So nothing you do anymore, right?
No. I have a bed in the house, and I sleep there every night.
Nice. Congratulations.
It's very comfortable. Yep.
So from 4th Street Recordings, well, who's the biggest band you worked with, or biggest artist you worked with at 4th Street?
At 4th Street, probably The Neighborhood.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so they had a really big hit, Sweater Weather, on their first album.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so that song. And so I was an intern during that record, and that was like 3 months after I'd started working at 4th Street. So it was like the first big project they had there, and that was really cool, getting to like hang out with those guys and seeing them. Like, me and 2 other guys rotated, so I think it was probably like 4 or 5 days a week, and they were there for a couple months. So it was a pretty fun process watching the whole entire record get made,
Yeah. So what did you do as an intern during that record?
During that record, as an intern, I went and I got their food.
Okay.
I cleaned up after them. I just hung out and was their friend sometimes.
Okay.
Made coffee. Made sure the studio was clean. That was a big thing. Basically just being a host, being there for anything that they might need or to make things easier for them.
What skills did you learn from that experience that translate into your studio now?
Well, from that experience, I really learned how to upkeep a studio and knowing like what little things people will like, and kind of knowing how to like present, and that like aesthetics have a lot to do with things, and just really how to handle different types of people and keep your cool in situations and stuff.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so then how did you get from 4th Street to Interscope?
So one of my really good friends, Jose, I met him working at 4th Street, and he was one of the more seasoned engineers at Interscope, and he really took me under his wing and like became a mentor, and we're still really close friends.
That's cool.
So I learned a lot from him, and he kind of gave me the foot in at Interscope, him and another guy, Chuck, who I helped out with a lot with his home studio stuff. And yeah, they both helped me out a lot, and they're basically the reason I got the job at Interscope.
Okay.
It sucked though, because I felt like I should have gotten the job sooner, because they wanted me to wait till I was 21, because like going on alcohol runs was a big deal at that studio.
Yeah.
You know, going to buy booze for the artists. You can't do that if you're not 21, and they're like a bigger label, so they have to follow all the legal stuff. Like they can't just be like, oh, just, you know, do whatever trick to do it. But I guess that was one thing that was cool. Like by the time I was done interning and working for free and all that, by the time I was 21, I never ended up ever actually doing a single run for booze.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, as an unpaid intern.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So what did you start off doing at Interscope?
At Interscope, I started off as, it's called a runner, which is basically just like a paid intern. So they paid me, and that was nice. Way better than working for free, obviously. That goes without being said. So when you're a runner, oftentimes like you're setting people up in the studio, you're taking down food orders, going to get food, cleaning giant SSL consoles with Q-tips and alcohol, and doing all the runs. But you get to like kind of hang out and meet the people and talk to them too, and that's where you can take advantage of, like, if there's a room open, you could go in there and kind of work. Like if it was in like the middle of the night, nothing was really going on, you could kind of go pick a studio and learn it and practice, you know, different things. And that was like a big plus, because they had 6 different studios.
Okay.
No, 7 actually.
Okay.
And so it was a good variety, and they have a really good tech, and they upkeep everything really well, you know, because they have the label's money. Whereas at like 4th Street, you kind of had to, you know, figure out some workarounds, because it was a small independent studio. Yeah. Which, you know, you can learn how to wire anything up, you know, or really learn how to troubleshoot when you're not in a crispy, clean, pristine studio, you know?
Yeah, you learn the most when you're under that kind of stress. Like, oh, these 2 channels are dead. What are we going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've literally had to go in like under an SSL console and change like a 15-inch subwoofer before. While the artist is like sitting on the couch just waiting for that to proceed with the session.
Ooh, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, so I'm like under an SSL with a drill.
Oh, no thank you.
Popping it in and out like it's a tire, you know.
So how long were you a runner at Interscope Records for?
I was a runner there for probably about like 3 years. It's weird because you start getting assistant engineering gigs, but like you're still on the daily schedule as a runner, and you start getting engineering gigs, and you can still be on like the schedule as a runner to make extra money. So it's a weird kind of thing. Like I was assistant engineering, but by the time like 3 or 4 years in, I was mostly just assisting and engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I've heard so far from your story is this is like the classic how you become an engineer story.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
totally.
How it used to be, you know, like you go to school for recording, actual recording, not like all the other BS that you have to take these days.
Yeah.
And you just focus on that. You get good at it, and you get an internship, and then you move up to a bigger studio, and you move up from there and keep moving up.
Exactly.
So where did you, well, tell us about kind of the chronicles of Interscope and where you started. Well, we heard where you started as a runner, but then the engineering gigs, assistant engineering gigs, how did you get those? How did they go? And then where did you go from there?
Okay, so the assistant engineering gigs and the engineering gigs, like when you first get them, it's always unexpected, because like somebody will call last second and want to book, and no one's available, and you're sitting there as a runner, and they go, oh, they'll tell the client, oh, we don't have any engineers available, but we have a runner here that's willing to help you out. So you slowly start getting things like that, and then you get trust build up with getting trusted with bigger things, and then eventually, you know, you're just one of the guys there.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I can't go into a whole lot of detail because I did sign some NDAs, but
okay,
you might be able to wiggle some things out of me.
Oh, what would they have NDAs for? Ooh, you got me curious now.
I don't know, man.
Maybe I'll ask you when we're not recording.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's mainly just like, so I like, say like somebody big was in the studio, like Selena Gomez. I could call up TMZ and be like, oh, hey, Selena Gomez is here, you guys can go get pictures, they would give me like $5,000.
Oh, gotcha.
It's more for that sort of a thing than be like, oh, you know, like, oh, that guy was a dick, or like, you know, that person was cool sort of thing,
because those things we probably already know.
Yeah. But like basically it's just like things that would cost them money.
Gotcha.
Or like if they got really offended by something I revealed or something, which I don't think there is, like, because I don't know, I'm a happy person. I enjoyed my time there, you know?
That's good.
So, yeah.
So where did you leave off at Interscope? Like, what's the farthest you got there? And can you say the biggest name you worked with there?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about the artists I worked with there. For second engineering and assistant engineering, I worked with Selena Gomez.
Okay.
Whenever she would come in, I would second engineer her sessions for a while. And then a lot of Top Dog Entertainment stuff, which they're like a group under this guy, Top Dog. So it's like Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, Isaiah Rashad. They were always booking in and out, so I was always assisting and randomly engineering for some of them. The bigger ones like Kendrick and Schoolboy, I only assistant engineered for. But one of the cooler ones I did get to actually engineer for and record was SZA, who's a phenomenal artist, and having like heard her in person, I can really say like she's an incredible singer and just super talented and a really nice person too.
That helps.
Yeah.
So can you explain to us what a second engineer is?
I can. So a second engineer is basically an engineer who works for the recording studio.
Okay.
And when a guest engineer comes in, they show them the signal flow of the studio, how everything is set up. So you're just there to help them run the equipment basically and be the host and make sure everything goes smooth, you know?
Okay.
That's the pretty standard second engineering. Unless you're working with like a really old, like gray-haired producer, those guys will have you run Pro Tools.
Okay.
But typically running Pro Tools is considered engineering.
Gotcha.
Whereas second engineering would be like just setting up all the equipment and just showing the engineer how to use anything that he might not know how to use, you know?
Interesting.
That's in the studio that we have to offer.
Okay, so people would come, like external engineers would come and use the studios?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like Selena Gomez, she had a guy, Ben, who's a really phenomenal engineer. I've been seeing him in ads for, I forget what plugin, on my Facebook. It's kind of funny. So he would come in because she's the type of person where she really likes to know the people she's working with and be comfortable around them. So he was just her guy that she would call, and he would go to whatever studio she was working at. Mm-hmm. So if she was coming to Interscope, he would come in with his computer and his stuff, and I would integrate his computer into like, you know, our interfaces and the SSL and all of you know, all the fun toys.
Okay. That's pretty sweet actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like anybody could use the studio then without having to know how to use the studio's computer.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Anybody could come in and I would just show them how to do what they want to do. You know?
So let's talk nerd stuff for a second here.
Yeah.
What were like your top 3 favorite pieces of gear there?
Okay, so I know 2 of them already, but figuring out the third, that's the hard part. Okay, so we had a stereo Fairchild compressor.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
If you're in the know about those.
Pricey.
yeah, it's a compressor that runs about, I don't know, last time I checked a couple years ago was like $40,000, I think, for like a real one.
Yep.
And that thing is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
One day maybe, we'll see. Probably not, but you know, you never know. I don't know. There's clones that are like $10,000, but that's a lot of money spending on like a clone even.
Yeah.
I feel like. So
there's so much money in parts in those things. Like they're so dense.
Mm-hmm. And then working at Interscope, we had 4 different SSLs. So we had the SSL, I think it was a G series that Dr. Dre recorded all the early like NWA stuff on, and I think maybe his first record or something. It was in his house, but that console was in Interscope Studio. So that, I mean, the history behind that and just it being like a really dope SSL, I thought made it a special piece of equipment.
It's hard to beat a G series. Let's be real.
Yeah. And then the third would have to be, I'm just gonna have to say their mic locker.
Yeah.
It was one of the better mic lockers in Los Angeles even.
Okay.
I mean, you basically name it, they have it. We had, you know, all sorts of I don't even know how many Neumann 87s we had. We had a bunch of 67s, a couple of 47s, M267s. We had some weird one. I forget the name of it. And Hitler actually spoke on that mic.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so that was cool to like. No one ever used it because it was, I don't know. I guess I viewed it at least as like kind of bad juju. Like, I don't want to touch that, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they had all the old like RCA ribbon mics and yeah.
Wow.
Anything you wanted, they had it.
That's
C12s,
nice.
251s.
So did each studio have its own mic locker, or was there a collective mic locker for every studio together?
There was a collective mic locker for every studio together, and it was basically like first come, first serve.
Okay.
Unless it was like a bigger name, then they obviously had priority than the smaller guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a giant mic locker for like 7 studios, and it was awesome.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'll probably never get to have access to anything like that again in my life.
Yeah.
But
why the hell are you back here, Steve?
I know, right?
So with the bands and artists you're talking about at Interscope, it sounds like you're more focused on like the pop realm. Is that where your expertise lies?
Yeah, I would say my expertise is definitely like pop and hip hop because that's what I worked on the most at Interscope. But 4th Street was like a real rock and roll studio.
Okay.
So like my real roots are like playing in bands, recording bands, like real rock and roll and punk and more alternative stuff too. But there's just less of that around nowadays,
Yeah.
I'm really jealous of how many bands I see you working with because I love working with bands too. I love my hip hop guys, but I really enjoy like recording drums is probably my favorite thing to record. So
it's so like the experience of recording real drums and like making the foundation of the song just be explosive.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. Like a real drummer hitting some real instruments. Like, man, like, yeah, I'm fine with samples, whatever. But if you can get a really good drummer that can hit the drums right, and if you tune them up properly, oh man, it's great.
I should have mentioned this at Interscope. I got to second engineer with Suicidal Tendencies.
Really?
Which was really great, and they actually had Dave Lombardo in.
Wow.
So watching him in person slay the drums, was really fun time. It was a fun week.
What did they track that on?
It was our biggest SSL. I don't remember the series name. Everyone there might get like mad at me for saying that. But like my memory, like I'm not good at memorizing like model numbers and all that and all these different things. And it's been a couple years, but it was an SSL. I want to say E or F. Okay. It was Studio One at Interscope. But
so like the big one.
They tore that studio down, and
really,
last I heard they were building a new one, like kind of in the same spot. I might go see it when I'm in there next week, but that would be interesting. I don't know if it's happening or not. We'll see. Yeah.
So why did they want to tear that one down to rebuild a new one?
They didn't want to tear it down. They were leasing it.
Oh.
They were leasing the property, and the owner decided to put a parking garage or something lame there. So we got the boot, and yeah.
So when was that?
That would have been like 2016, 2017.
Okay. And then when did you move back here?
I moved back here at the end of 2018.
Okay. Yeah. After that studio got tore down, let's finish off the Interscope Chronicles. Between when the studio got torn down and when you came back here, what happened between then?
Well, I was still working for Interscope because they had... So we had like one really nice studio up in like the Universal building that was just always there, and that's the Universal building, so they own it. Yeah. They ended up putting a second one in the Universal building, and then we still had like this other kind of little writing studio in Hollywood. And I lived really close to that studio, so I ended up working a lot of those sessions. Okay. Basically anything that was booked there, I was just the guy for that location because I was close to it. In LA, like if you're not close to something and you have to drive like an hour to go like 20 miles, it's like a real buzzkill. Yeah. So like my boss was cool about giving me those sessions that were close to me, so I wouldn't have to go all the way from the Valley to Santa Monica, which is the west side.
Yeah. Man, an hour for 20 miles. That sounds like hell.
Yeah, that's definitely up there for one of my reasons of moving back.
Okay.
Just traffic.
Yeah.
You can only deal with so much of it, you know?
Yeah. How many traffic jams were you in per day?
I don't know. One on the way there, one on the way home, at least, if not two, each way. Depending on the time of day. You know, being an engineer, I worked like night shift a lot too, because everyone likes recording at night. I don't know if you do that a lot here. I don't, because I have a home studio too, and I don't want to piss off my neighbors. I assume you're the same way.
My neighbors don't really care, but
okay.
I like to sleep. I don't function that great at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like most people don't.
Yeah. So it was like really random hours and random scheduling. So like a lot of times I got lucky and like I wasn't in rush hour, or like I'd be going the opposite way of rush hour, and I'd be like, those guys are stuck and I'm cruising, you know? But yeah. What were we talking about?
The Chronicles. Interscope Chronicles.
Interscope, yeah.
I might call the episode that, the Interscope Chronicles.
Okay. I'm cool with it.
So, yeah, what were all your reasons for wanting to move back? Like, you had this great gig at Interscope.
Yep.
What made you want to move back and start your own thing?
Well, number one reason was family. I grew up in Appleton. Most of my family is here or in the area. I have 2 really awesome nephews and a niece that I love spending time with. Mm-hmm. And my grandma is super old and not doing well. So, you know, like I want to be around for my family, you know? And I was 18, 19 when I made the decision to move out to Los Angeles. I was, you know, this kid from Appleton, you know, wanted to like let loose and explore the world, and I got to have my dream job, and I did all that for a long time. And you know, I'm getting older and I want different things out of life, you know, like I want, like you said, I want to sleep. Like nowadays I'm in bed asleep by like 10 p.m. and I love that, and I wake up early and I love the mornings. Back then I was always tired. I would always say the only thing that's consistent about my schedule is the inconsistency. So yeah, just like being able to like have time for myself and being able to take care of myself and not just always be worried about taking care of other people. Because, you know, when you're like in a job like Interscope, if you don't say yes, they're going to call the next guy. The next guy up on the roster or whatever. So you have to say yes all the time, answer the phone at, you know, all times of the day, take every gig. It's nice to be able to have peace of mind and relax and know that I'm not going to get a call and be like, oh, hey, so-and-so wants to do this or that. And like, you know, if you don't come in, you might miss an amazing opportunity. So like definitely way lower stress levels. And I can say I'm a healthy person now, and I wasn't back then at all. So,
well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So you started your own studio now.
Yep.
After looking around and realizing that nothing is quite like how it is out there.
Yep.
Like you said, all one-man shops.
Yep.
Tell me about your studio. What's it called? And what kind of stuff do you like to do?
Okay, so my studio, it doesn't exactly have a name. My business is called Wessing Productions, which is more just me, I guess. But I have a studio in my basement, which actually is really quiet. Okay. It actually worked out better than I thought as far as like soundproofing and all that would go. Like you mentioned earlier, it's one room. I just wear my headphones. Okay. I'm in there with the band or whatever. Mm-hmm. I like to think of it as top of the line equipment, but compared to like Interscope, it's not. I have a Universal Audio Apollo, you know, that is top of the line. It's a really great interface. I love it. But I have a Neve 1073 clone from Warm Audio and the Neve 1076 clone like you have from Warm Audio, and that's my vocal chain. I really love it. I use it on vocals for everyone. The microphone in that would be my Neumann TLM 103. Okay. Which I really love. I don't know.
The hard mics not to love.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where you are with everything, but I would definitely recommend getting one. And, you know, I got a little Gresh drum kit with a Ludwig, super light snare. Got some guitars and a bass and some pretty nice Midas preamps too, in addition to all that. And
solid.
Yeah.
Just so how do bands like working in a single room environment?
Most of the guys around here don't. Okay. To be honest, it's a bit of a drawback for some people. Okay. But the bands that I have had do it, they were pretty cool. They didn't feel too crammed or anything. I really know how to utilize the space, especially after being there for a couple years. Yeah. But yeah, everyone's on headphones, and I do put amps in a different room.
Okay.
So like it's not completely in one room, I guess.
So you can live track a band without a bunch of bleed.
Yeah, like Trash Pandas, I live tracked them.
Okay.
For their songs that are going to be on their upcoming record. You should check it out.
What's their record called?
Oh man, I think it's self-titled. It's their self-titled debut album. Yeah.
Okay.
It is self-titled.
Cool.
Yeah.
Again, that's Trash Pandas.
Trash Pandas.
Like
awesome
the raccoons,
name.
but
Yep. Yeah, I really like it. It's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What kind of music do they play?
I mean, it's definitely like punk. I would describe it as like punk rock.
Okay.
Rock music, alternative.
Cool.
I don't know. I really hate using like genre terms.
Yeah.
Like honestly, that's one of my pet peeves. Like there's so many like different words that you can use to describe genres and subgenres. Like, I don't know, man. Like, dude, it's just a band, Like they play rock. Like, what more do you want?
Yeah, and there's so many different styles these days. It's so hard to categorize anything without pissing somebody off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So how does everyone like working on headphones?
I don't know. I think that's kind of a strange question because in all the studios I've worked at, everyone has always used headphones. No one's ever not used headphones.
Oh, so you didn't have like guitar players in the control room with the amps in the live room or anything?
Well, it's one room. We're all in the one room and we're all just on headphones. If there are amps, I put them.
Oh, I'm talking like at bigger studios.
In the bigger studios, everyone's on headphones too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I
worked
don't
at a bigger
know
studio.
how else would you do it?
Here, so I've got the drummer on headphones, obviously, and anybody in the live room is on headphones.
Okay.
But a lot of people like tracking in here in the live room, and they just hear themselves out of the
so
speakers.
like if you have a bass player going like direct in, okay, never mind. I was like thinking in the tracking room, I was like, everyone always wears headphones in the tracking room, man. Like, what are you talking about? But no, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
That's good. I didn't like. I've never been to a bigger studio.
Yeah.
Well, I've been to Rock Garden, but like I've never tracked at a bigger studio, so I don't know if I was doing something wrong or whatever. But,
right.
Yeah, people seem to like that. So, like I've had some people when we live track, they like having headphones and all playing together. Some people don't like it at all. They like being in here and relaxing on the couch and being able to jam on the couch.
Well, I mean, like a drummer and a singer can't do that, but guitarists and bass players have that option, have that luxury.
Yeah. Bongo players, the professional bongist.
I've yet to record bongos in my studio.
I highly recommend a sensitive condenser mic for that.
Okay.
Yeah, anything else is just too dull.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. And talking nerd stuff here, you guys can skip ahead if you want, but honestly, like 2 feet up captures both of them. And then did multiple takes, all varying slightly, not editing them, and then it sounds huge.
That's awesome. I've close mic'd like with 57s on that sort of like hand drum type of thing before, and like you get really good attack that way, but they don't sound huge. So
yeah, that I used a very overpowered mic for this. It was a Lauten Audio Oceanus, like a $2,000 mic.
Nice.
For a set of cheap bongos that my wife got as a kid.
Nice.
But it sounded great, so yeah, probably again overpowered, but it worked. So
yeah,
wasn't my mic, by the way.
If it works, it works.
Yeah. So tell people where they can find out more about you and Wessing Productions, and then how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Spotify too. My website is just wessingproductions.com. You can find me on Google really easy, Wessing Productions. And yeah, all my contact information is on all those sites. Very easy to search and find. Sweet. Well, thanks for coming in today. Appreciate it. And awesome. It was my pleasure. It was nice talking audio nerd stuff. I don't get to do that very often around here. Yeah. Not as many people are as big of nerds as I'd like, so yeah, you'll have to come over again sometime. It would be fun. You should come check out my spot too. I would love to. That'd be awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk. We'll turn the mics off and we'll talk. All right. Cool. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Adios. If you guys are looking for a recording engineer or a producer for your band, feel free to check out sourcetrackstudio.com. I'll have the link in the show notes below. Listen to my work, and if you like what you hear, send me a message, and hopefully we can work together.